What's going on, guys? Welcome back to RC Everyday. So we're just a couple days away from leaving for Ultimate Scale Truck Expo. I've got everything packed. All the rat rods are boxed up and gone, ready to hit the road anyway. And just kind of last minute, this thing, I felt bad leaving it here, sitting in this condition. I want to bring it, just kind of have a work in progress, kind of see the design, and I'm not sure what point we're at, if it's halfway or what. But last video we did on this one, we did the rear suspension, and we've got some rear body mounts. The body will hold itself up off the ground. We don't have any front suspension though, and I don't want to bring it like that because the front end's just flopping around. So looking at a way to make something, mount the shocks and get this thing at least as a roller. I've got one of my awesome designs 3D printed grills here. Took the insert out. I haven't done a whole lot of welding lately. I just got my welder out of my storage unit after almost a year, and I have not had a chance to get it set up, and I definitely can't set it up today with all of everything boxed up in the way. So we're gonna look at trying to do some bolt-on front suspension. I don't have a clue yet how I'm gonna do this, so let's take a closer look at it. So typically when I build these, I just kind of focus on one thing at a time. We'll do first we get the look, the body, the wheel and tire, the stance that we want. Then we'll make the chassis to fit it, and then we'll start looking at how the rear suspension is going to hang. The front is still completely up in the air. We can lengthen it, we can shorten it. This chassis wasn't built with a complete image in mind, which is usually the point I like to do it at, because I don't know what motor or anything we're going to use on this. This build is kind of a mess, so well, we just play it by ear. So we've got the front axle here. There's still a lot of stuff to sort out. I don't have the right hubs in the axle. These tires will not spin right now because the steering link is hitting the inside of the wheel, because these are 155s. But I do like the height of this tire wheel combo. Not 100% sure we'll stay with this, with the duals and everything, but we know the height goes with the body, and it goes with the height of the body off the ground. The ground clearance and everything is pretty well set now. So if we do switch to another tire later, it will be around about this same height. So that we can build suspension off of. On the RC 4-wheel drive giveaway rat rod I made a simple T-plate and welded it to the axle, and it worked out fantastic, and the shocks just came into the middle and bolted to it, and the grill actually mounted to it as well. But again, I can't really do any welding right now, so we've got two holes. We've got a cross member with some spacers, and we've got two holes to work with. So we're gonna have to get creative and do some brainstorming. I'm thinking with only two holes, I can't, if you just bolt something to those two holes, it's gonna flop front to back. So that won't work, obviously. So what we're gonna have to do is make like a sleeve insert. Think of like the receiver hitch on your truck. It slides into the square, can't move left or right. So if we make a sheet metal piece and slide it in here and bolt it through that hole, and we can make it come back as far as we need to be rigid enough to go across the front. And then we can bolt to that. We can mount the grill. I'm not sure how far forward yet. The grill can't interfere with the shocks. I was actually thinking about having, the grill's pretty much going to be right over that, having the shocks bolt through the opening on the grill. And then when we come time for motor and stuff, we can figure out some way to put a radiator back there and just have an open grill. We could throw some mesh in there or something. Got that mesh from an old trash can, little office trash can from Walmart that we've used on some of the rat rods before. So, like I said, we got a couple days before we hit the road. Probably won't mess with this after the day. So yeah, let's get to work. I'm gonna get some sheet metal and yeah, start looking at cutting a plate to go across the front that will sleeve into the chassis. All right, so we've made our little front mounting bracket. It's going to fit well. The frame rails do taper in, and there was some tension, so when I pulled the spacers out, it squeezed in a lot. So we will probably have to loosen up some other cross members to get all that shoved back into place, but we're not going to do that yet. So I don't know. There's going to be tension in this plate. It's going to be squeezed out just a hair because I didn't, you know, I mean, I used a, I used this, but it, I mean, I've ground down part of that in, so it's not 100% accurate, but we eyeballed it close enough. But we want that tension in there because that's going to add some rigidity to this. This is pretty flexible stuff. It's not super bendy, but it will definitely need some reinforcement, especially holding suspension. So when you think of terms of steel tubing like this, C-channels are super rigid because they have 3 sides and it's all one piece. Adds a whole lot of strength to it. This is not going to have that. So it's going to be squeezed and bulged out just a hair. And then we will have to do some kind of layering on that. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to use to come up to the shocks. I don't want to, in the past I've done it before where I'll just put a piece of aluminum up. Aluminum is light, stronger, won't bend under the pressure that this suspension is going to have. You know, I'm sure there's some formulas to figure all that out, but this is, you know, mini version, so it's going to be close enough. But I don't want to do that because we've got to doll it up a little bit. We can't just have aluminum. I mean, that's kind of the gist I gave at the beginning of this video, but we can't just have some hacked together looking junk. It needs to be somewhat detailed. I mean, I don't want to redo this. I hate doing things twice, and especially if I've just kind of thrown something together temporarily. I hate doing temporary work. It's a waste of time. It's part of the reason I hated my last job at that factory, because there's so much, well, let's try this, and you know, if you have a little bit of insight and a little bit of mechanical aptitude, you can see when things aren't going to work and when they are. But you can't tell an engineer that. So regardless, yeah, I'm going to drill some holes in this. I'm not sure where yet. I keep thinking back. So there's a guy on Instagram, RCratrod Jeff Jones. He does some amazing rat rods. He builds everything from scratch. Full chassis. He puts freaking Top Fuel looking engines in them. Huge slicks on the back. But his engineering, he just eyeballs shit like I do. And that is awesome. And watching him work is pretty inspiring. He does a lot of layered sheet metal like that. So if he had a bracket like this in the front, he would put some copper plates over it and engrave it, or, you know, like cut them in the shapes and use special bolts or rivets or something to make it just look phenomenal. So I don't know if I can get that detailed on this just due to the size. That's, you know, that was been the problem with me in modeling my entire life, is I started out with 1/24 scale stuff, and there's just no way for me with my giant hands and my fat fingers to get the level of intricacy I wanted in that scale. So here we are, the scale RC scene, 1/10 scale ish, and I've been able to do a whole lot more with this. But the inevitable goal is to get to full-size cars and doing stuff like he's doing. But we've got to try to do it in miniature just to see if we can. So again, I don't have a plan yet what it's going to look like. I don't even know, honestly, how tall it needs to be. I didn't measure that. I may have to do that real quick. Fold this thing down. Just get an eyeball. Luckily, the way I designed these are radius arms, are, when it's at ride height, will be parallel with chassis rails. So that's where we want to measure everything from. I've got this jack under there. It's pretty close to the right height. Everything looks and jives good. Let me throw something up here and see. From the bottom of the chassis, we are about 2 inches, it looks like, where we need to be. So something 2 inches off of our bracket. It looks cool and has a little bit more structural rigidity. And go. All right, guys, so it's not the best looking thing. It's, again, like I was saying, it's hard to translate that kind of detail into this size. I just don't have the precision for it. But it's going to do the job, but we've run into a problem. So originally this was going to bolt on front, bolt through our plate, bolt to the grill, but I didn't think about that. The bar back there, I had to modify the grill quite a bit to get it to fit down in between there. There's not a whole lot of space. There's no way to get a nut on the back side of that. So we're going to solve a problem that we hadn't thought about yet. To keep the problems stored aside, and as we run into other problems, we might be able to kill two with one solution here. So what I'm going to do is going to relocate. The thing fits snug down in there. See, I notched it out and flattened the back side, which will work out great for this. We're going to bring it to the front. So now we've got a spot for a nut and a bolt back there. Won't be quite as tight. This is very rigid. This is stretched in there. It was quite a bit of work to get those spacers and stuff in. Wouldn't have been that bad if I'd had a bar the exact length I needed, but I'm using a combo of spacers and that. So anywho, it's going to work out perfect putting it here. Put our shock mount on the front, and we'll have plenty of room to get a nut on the back side of it. And then we can access this from the front to mount our shocks. As long as it all jives and lines up nice, we will see. If it does not, we can lengthen the rods. It's a little bit of a bind. We'll have to see how the grill actually sets once we get it on. But if not, you can see we've already got some spacers in these front rods to bring them out just a little bit. We can swap those bad boys out for just something a few millimeters longer, because I think that's probably all we're going to need when we get there. So I'm going to run some scale bolts to the front because you'll be able to see them. Put some lock nuts on the back, and get this whole thing squared away. All right, guys, so it'll work. It didn't work out as amazing as I'd hoped, but it'll work. It'll get us through the event, and we have a little bit of front suspension. Yeah, it's a little flimsy. So our main piece we put down there, we need another layer on that at least, something to stiffen that up, and I mean, we'd have to double it over at least with the bends that go into the C-channel and everything to get it to be rigid enough. The grill ended up sitting just a bit higher than the cowl. The grill does hit the ground with the suspension fully laid out. Our geometry and everything worked out great up here. The travel and the ride height are right where I wanted it. But it is what it is. It's a little bit bendy front to back just because of that front piece. Lots of different things we could have done, lots of different ways to have done it. I'm not too concerned with it. Again, this was just temporary. I'm not even sure I'm running that grill. I mean, obviously it's I think they're contrasting shades of patina, so it's not the best look for it. But I just wanted to put something on there and have it as a roller. We can throw it on the back of the Rat King hauler and cruise around the event with it. And with having the doors and stuff off, it's kind of lends itself to show off the chassis and engineering side of it. So yeah, it'll do the job. But Yeah, trying to do a little more in-depth stuff for you guys. I know a lot of people want to do more talking about what I'm doing, not just visualizing or seeing it on the high-speed stuff. I know I can't not do the high speed on the videos because, I mean, like, this has been 5 hours of footage, so it's gonna be a long enough video with just the sections I talk. I mean, if you can slow it down on YouTube if you really want to watch it at normal speed. The music will sound terrible, which most of it's terrible anyway, but it's free. It doesn't cost me anything to use those songs, so I try to mix it up and not let them get too stale, but that's neither here nor there. This will get the job done. We'll have to come back and revisit it later, but I think it'll get us through the event. I still don't have a name or a plan or an engine or anything for this build. This was kind of just fell into my lap, and yeah, I'm digging the tire size with this body. It works for well. Still not 100% sold on the duals, and it would be different if I had a street tread tire, but to do that we'd have to go up to a 1.7 wheel, which would help us with our clearance issues up here in the front. So something to think about. I do have another set of those 1.7 diesel wheels that, like we have on the Rat King hauler, and I have on old number 2. Not sure how that white would look with this color combo, but I don't know. We got time to brainstorm. That's what it's all about, just having fun and doing something different. So I guess we're gonna wrap this video up here. I appreciate you guys watching. Get out there and do something with the hobby. Think outside the kit. Keep it scale, and I'll see y'all in the next one.